All right, all right, all right. Greetings and welcome back once again. Oh, I forgot to put one ting, bam. I mean that. Greetings and welcome once again. You know, me should I get my other, well, let me get my screen glasses for protect my eye. Cause last time my eye them did hurt me. Hold on, 1 second. All right, this is live, guys. This is not pre-recorded. You understand? So let me make sure I put on my computer glasses now to take off the glare off of my eye. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope everybody is doing well. Yep, we are here in the flesh, live on direct. You already know this is the open mic session. But before I jump into the open mic, I wanted to thank everybody for all of your support, all of the love that's been coming in. And you know what I mean? Somebody push back. You know, we can't angle the pushback and thing. It's always good to engage in these discussions. And as everybody's saying, that they're cathartic, they're healing, and they give us an experience and an opportunity to talk about things that sometimes we don't have permission to talk about, right? So for that, I am forever grateful. Give me one more second, guys. One more second. Sorry about that. I had to make sure the environment was nice and conducive. You understand? So, with that said, let me go ahead and I'm to this thing now. All right, we're there now. So, with that says, yes, it's nice to see everybody here. There's a few things I wanted to touch on, because there has been so much going on in these last few readings. So much it's bubbling up to the surface. And I titled this one, Is This Love? Y'all already know what y'all thinking. Is this love? Is this love? Is this love? Is this love that I'm feeling? Even Bob had to ask the question, Is this love? He wasn't sure. He was not sure. He wasn't sure if it was love. So how are we sure? You know what I'm saying? He was like, dun, dun, dun. Come on, y'all. All the Bob Marley songs come up to the surface. I got my little cue card here because I wanted to touch some points that are they continue throughout Sedella's narrative, and then I was able to find the Cox and Dodd interview where he confirms what Sedella said. Right, Rita doesn't go that much into it. Thank you, Angie, for coming. I enjoyed the reading. I'm gonna open the mic in a little bit, but yeah. Is this love? Is this love? Is this love? Is this love that I'm feeling? He must have sung that every time he saw a new Jubby. He was like, "Ooh, Miss World, is this love? Is this?" Every time he saw the tennis player, he's like, "Is this love?" He wasn't sure. Bob was everywhere trying to figure out if it was love. I don't know. But in regard to this the way in which their family unit uh got married, right? Sometimes people get married for love or they get married for different reasons, right? So I wanted to ask the question for the them in particular, what were the reasons that they got married? So, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but first we're going to look at Omariah. This is coming from Sedella's book on page 4. My mother, no, jump down. The story in the family is that when my father got my mother pregnant, he was living with an older woman named Auntie Mai, who used to labor in the hot sun beside him in the fields. Right? I'm going to jump down. My mother's father sent for him and told him that he had to do the right thing. And my father married my mother in a quiet wedding ceremony in Brownstown and took her in his buggy to the house on the hillside that he shared with the older lady. So, Sedella's story, her father married her mother because someone compelled him. Let's jump forward 28, and that someone was Alberta's father. So let's jump forward to in Sedella's situation. 28 now. We already just went through that, so that should be fresh in our minds, right? And it says here, one evening, this is after he gave her the manure, say you're pregnant. Remember that one? So one evening, as I came down from working all day at Smith, Captain rode up and said he wanted to talk to me. He walked by my side and told me that he was going to get married. Married, I cried. Married to who? To you, he said. I can't marry you, I replied. I'm too young. No, you're not, Captain said. I'll talk to your father. You're carrying my child. I'm leaving for Kingston this weekend. Before I go, I want to marry you. So once again, the marriage was because of the belly. Okay. Captain was over there fooling around, just like Omariah was fooling around. And then when the woman got the belly, they were like, someone compelled the first one to marry. The second one, he must have got conscience. I don't know where he got it from, but he says he's going to marry her. The third one on chapter 90, page 97. It's not going to take long, y'all. I'm going to open this up in a second because we're going to see the continuity between all of these marriages. Oh, Stephanie, I forgot what episode you have to go back to. Alberta is Sedella's mother. Alberta is Sedella's mother. Sedella's mother died when she was 10, according to her narrative. And so Alberta is her mother. She had 10 children, 9 children living, and she died with the 10th pregnancy. So Sedella, that's her mother. So when Omariah got her mother pregnant, her father, Alberta's father, compelled him to marry her. Now, we got over here, we are on this, that was grandparent, parent, and now Bob. It says, some months later, Nestor wrote again to say that he'd met a nice girl named Rita, and that she had become pregnant for him. Once again, them a rampa room. Before them decide, is this love? Is this love? Is this love? Them want for love was waking. They want to test the waters and then go deep in the water and get catch. And each time them end up having married, right? And that if she had his baby, he intended to marry her. Whether he met his father or not, he did the same thing that his father did and his grandfather did. And that if she had his baby, he intended to marry her. So again, I just wanted to read those 3 things because they married for the same reason. The woman was pregnant, right? Whether someone compelled you or whether you felt compelled. And this is probably why later on he says, oh, he felt like someone obeyed him. He kind of like went into this, good evening, everyone. He went into this, like I keep talking about, this cyclical reoccurring energy that comes back into a family line. And sometimes you subconsciously do things. And then when you come to, you're wondering, why did I do that? Not knowing that there was a strong current behind you pushing you in the same way of your ancestors, right? And with that said, I want to go ahead and play real quick, Cox and Dodd, a real quick clip, because he confirms what Sedella just said. Now, sometimes we're like, is Sedella telling the truth? In this particular situation, her story is corroborated. So hold on one second.
Bob, when he met Rita here and Rita got pregnant, I took the financial expense to get them married because I figured this was the right way, and I'm trying to be like a father figure.
We heard that. I'll play it again if we didn't hear it. So the father figure, would have been the same father figure in the case of Alberta when her father stepped forward and told Omariah, you have to marry him. The same kind of father figure that Omariah played, even though he was a brethren to Captain now, he didn't just impregnate anybody's daughter. He impregnated his friend's daughter. So he knew he had to do right? He was compelled one way or another. And now we see Cox and Dodd telling Bob Marley, and people say, well, what happened to that baby? According to Sedella, she had a miscarriage. She lost the baby, right? That's according to Rita. Doesn't say that. Rita says, oh, I don't know why he wanted to marry me. I'm sorry, Rita, because you gave us he just popped out of nowhere. She didn't say necessarily that it was love. She said that he just all of a sudden said he wanted to marry. And she was like, oh, I'm not even thinking about that. Here it is. This is Rita on page 34. We got married on impulse. So remember, is this love that I'm feeling? She said it was impulse. It wasn't love. It was impulse. We got married on impulse because Bob's mother had sent for him. Unlike a lot of girls, I hadn't been dreaming of being married at that age. It wasn't something I had in mind. I never thought about my wedding day. So, is this love? Is this love? Is this love? Is this love that I'm feeling? I mean, I know we want to revision the conversation of how we think it went, But according to what the witnesses are saying, at that time it wasn't love, it was probably responsibility, it was compulsion, it was social norms, it was a whole lot of other things. Because remember, Rita has a baby and they didn't compel her to marry the guy who she was in love with, the tall twin who they sent to England. She was in love with him and she had a baby and they didn't marry. So I could kind of see where she's like, okay, even if she is pregnant, that's not a reason for her to get married because she didn't get married the last time. But I'm going to open up because I want to hear from you guys and let me know your thoughts. So I just wanted to put that. Yo, y'all were going in on Captain. I know she didn't mention a miscarriage, uh actually Sedella does. Sedella mentions because if they got married in 1966, Cox and Dodd, I'll play it again, said they got married because she was pregnant, but they don't have their first daughter until afterwards. Then one would have to ask, what baby were they talking about, right? So let me play what he said one more time.
Bob, when he met Rita here and Rita got pregnant, I took the financial expense to get them married because I figure this was the right way and I'm trying to be like a father figure.
Now, if Rita, which she was, she was what she met him when the baby was 5 months. It's easy to get pregnant if she was over there. Night was waking and love was waking. It's easy to get pregnant right after having a child. So if she was over there feeling sorry for poor Bob, there's a possibility that she was pregnant. And according to two witnesses, they say she was. Rita doesn't tell us that, but they did. So that's my thoughts on that. Good night, everyone. Good night. So I dropped the link in the box. If you have any thoughts, if not, I'm going to share some of the thoughts that I thought was uh, good during this session. It says, wait, hold on. Sedella goes on to say, I wrote him back and told him that he didn't have to marry any girl just because she had gotten pregnant for him. And remember, she may be giving him advice based on her experience with Captain Norval, because Norval said, I'm going to marry you because you're having my baby. So that may have been her personal, like, yo, bro, you ain't got to marry her just because of that. Because trust me, that's what happened with me and your father. It may have been a knee-jerk response. She says here, I wrote him back and told him that he didn't have to marry any girl just because she had gotten pregnant for him. That marriage was a big step to be taken cautiously and preferably only for love. Is this love? Is this love that I'm feeling? It says here, let me see if I jump down here. She goes on to say somewhere else that she had lost the baby. I heard later that she had lost the baby. So that first baby that Cox and Dot is talking about, that I'm going to marry her if she's pregnant baby, is the same thing his daddy did and the same thing his granddaddy did. Okay, the box is open. I ask that if we come up, let's just be respectful of other people's and other people's opinion, and then that would be that. Let's see what questions we have here so far. Why marriage need thought, but a baby is not a big deal? Makes no sense. I mean, I guess it's the way that people were doing what they were doing at that time. Marriage for the mother, I don't know. It's really the culture's relationship or the way they look at intercourse and having sex, right? In Rita's book, she talks about it being frowned upon, but remember, she already had a young baby. So it would really kind of look away on her. That's what her aunt was afraid of, that she would breed again. So I don't know if in Bob's case, like I said, in Bob's case, this is like the third generation. This is the third generation of him having this experience, and it's coming strong. So later on, he's like, I don't even know I'm gonna get married. I don't even know. But at that time, he was fragile. Mom is gone. He got this woman pregnant. He grew up without a dad. Cox and Dodd is telling him to do right. There's a whole lot of factors that may have compelled him. He doesn't tell Bunny. He doesn't tell Peter, according to the story. So he doesn't want any outside influence. And he kind of wants to do what is right, right? Winter. Okay. I'll try to keep her. Somebody says Bob had a daughter. I heard about the daughter. I think her name is Imani. I mean, I don't know much about her, but it's been said that yes, he has a daughter before Rita. So this would mean that the both of them have a daughter. Stephanie says Rita's book have a lot of holes. I think she kind of glosses over some stuff. She goes into stuff that is difficult to hide. Even on her Wikipedia page, it says her child by extramarital affairs. I think she measured what she was willing to reveal versus what was too much, and so she revealed to me. She revealed what was kind of like common knowledge, but she still left it some to the imagination. Yeah, she left it to the imagination. And again, the cyclical nature, if anything we take away from this, is really in our own families, something repeats. Many things repeat. They intersect, they overlap. And what I found in not only my life experience, but in my research as well, is that whatever that issue that we have in our family, people may feel like, oh, this is my soulmate, or oh, this is my twin flame, or oh, this is the person that I was supposed to be with. This is the person that resonates with whatever that reoccurring issue is within our family. And they come in and they manifest into our lives, and we keep playing out these roles until it is rectified, until it is healed, until that energy is released, right? So, very much looking at Rita and looking at Bob, they attracted to each other for more reasons than one, right? And this stuff continues to repeat out throughout their family lines until it's dealt with, right? So that's my thought on that. Yo, why were y'all? What are y'all thoughts on Captain? I know we spoke about it, but now that Captain has passed away, I'm like, I don't even get to just be, I don't get to be shocked at all of his antics no more, because Captain, he did his last hurrah at the courthouse, claiming he don't remember. He don't remember marrying but one time. Captain was a whole interesting individual, and if I was to guess, I think that the issue starts with Captain's family, right? It starts with whatever, like I said before, whatever it was the reason that his father came over. And pause. For those who are saying it said colored on the birth certificate, it did say colored on, not birth, marriage certificate of Ellen Bloomfield, right? And why I say I wouldn't jump to say that she was black is because this is talking about the British system, colonial system, not the American system. And when I looked up Ellen Bloomfield, in America, her family, where they said she came from Massachusetts, it says they were white in the census in Massachusetts during the 1850s. So I'm not only just reading from here, I'm cross-referencing. So when I don't commit to saying something, is because I didn't have enough evidence to say so. But what I would say is that Bloomfield, and I even got a confirmation from somebody in the comments that Bloomfield is a Jewish name. So I don't know how they were using the system to say whether you were black, brown. Sometimes in these records, the older records, they would call you brown. They would say Sambo. I'm like, Sambo, what's that? So again, it takes more research. And when I say stuff like it takes more research, hold on. Oh, don't drop my book. Stuff like this is what I'm into outside of my entertainment reading, right? So this book here is Jamaica, Freedom and Slavery. Thick book. You understand? And this book looks at not just generally what was happening in slavery in America, but more specifically the British colonies, right? And stuff like this and other things like this will kind of give me the insight that I need to be able to say, yeah, with confidence, this is what that means. So as it stands now, I don't know why they marked color down for Ellen Ann Bloomfield. She may have been Jewish. It's a possibility. It's a possibility. And I went there to say, oh, yes. So the beginning of the cycle, based on what I'm seeing through all of this research, really starts with Albert. That's his name. Yes, Albert. So many different names. And I mean, Albert, who came over from England to Jamaica and marries Ellen Ann Bloomfield. And something happens where he dies in Panama when Norval is 2. And again, I don't know where it goes wrong or who is helping Ellen, or I haven't been able to follow up on where does she go, who's taking care of him, who's the father figure in the life. I don't know. They just said he died 2 years later. Let's see here. I'm going up first because last time I missed a lot of stuff up at the top. Bob was confused. He didn't know love. He knew lust over many women. Whoop. Is this love? Is this love? Is this love? She said, Bob was, what you said, Bob did in a kinky reggae? I mean, I don't know. Bob to me, based on what I've read, again, I've said it before, he has issues with connecting and attaching to people for whatever his experience was. And so, in the case of his mother, the leaving of him at 6 months for the evil spirits to attack him, I don't know really what's going on with Sedella, because Sedella also has a similar injury. Remember, Norval has an injury as it relates to the mother. Father. Sedella has a mother wound because she's an orphan. Her mother dies when she's 10. So Sedella also is struggling. You have these two people who have one wound on one side and the other wound on the other side. And so to give them a little bit of grace in the space and time that they're growing up in, not too much for Captain, because Captain, you never did need too much grace for them with a little pitney. But to give them a little bit of grace that their inner child is definitely wounded. I would say that. And she's looking at her father having these different women, and maybe she didn't really have one that would replace the mother figure, right? That she needed. And so that kind of possibly translated into how she grew her own children. I love how you put life into your reading. Give thanks, Sharon. You make me buy read a book. Big it up. Buy, because people out here like, oh, you buy the book because it's been out on there. Buy Sedella book, buy Kimani book, buy all of the book them, read them, and so we can have informed discussion, right? Support Caribbean authors. All right. All right, let me jump down now. I don't see anybody coming up. All right, let me jump down and see anything that I missed here. I don't have a Discord. No, I don't have a Discord right now. You can just drop the link if you follow me on what is the place name? Instagram. You can send link, or you could drop the link in this box right here. The link should come through. Most people are in love. Let us see now. Most people are in love before marriage, and many men don't get the inspiration to marry before the baby. So I don't think it's necessary that the reason for Bob and Rita marriage be love. Interesting. You see, when you put the cart before the horse, then it's in this day and time, baby now make man married. Because them just breed up and have women all over the place. But maybe at a different time, it may have compelled the men because social pressure. But today, them just woman have baby father and man have baby mother. All about the place. All about the place. Let's see here. And if you want to come up and share your thoughts, feel free to do so. She doesn't want anything to do. Let's see. Jenny says most West Indian men deny that they're married. That is, and he's all in the paper. I think I shared the paper. I said I was going to do that separately because I wanted to read actually what that paper said. It was kind of small, had to blow it up and things. But the paper where he's with Cindy and Don Taylor's in that paper giving a direct quote, I thought that was interesting. So I'm going to read that on another video. Angie says she think the belly was the reason for the marriage. Sedella's book revealed. Right, the belly was the reason that Omariah married Sedella's mother. The belly was the reason that Captain married Sedella. And the belly was the reason that Bob was compelled to marry Rita. So after the belly situation, it looks like they come to and they're like, we never married. like somebody made you marry. Okay. And later on, he tells his mother that, I think I read it before, that somebody obeyed him. Okay, sir. I'm going to put the link in the box right here. Bob's grandfather, I can't. In other words, she gives Bob's a whole heap of bun. I'm not sure how many bun. Why some people say that she continued to give him bun. I don't know. I think it's interesting that she goes back after he has passed and is with the same man, which is Taki. Right? If she was into giving a whole heap of bun, I'm not sure why she would bring forth another baby with Taki. And then if she was giving all of these buns, then where are all the other babies? That's the only thing that makes me feel like necessarily that she wasn't just out here giving all kind of bun, because if she had that baby and she had the baby after Bob was born, then where are the baby buns? That sounds crazy, but you know what I mean. I don't know. I don't know. I can only go with what they shared. Winter says that she thinks that Rita straight up lied. In what respect? Feel free to share. But they had to adjust things. I don't see, like, again, I try to cross reference. I don't see yet where she straight up lied. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's a specific part. We can take a look at that if you think so. Everybody out here, what you say? We need Maury Povich. You said Bob has more than 11 children. It's a possibility. I'm seeing a few inconsistencies with Rita's book. In the movie, they show her introducing Bob, but in the book, right? I saw that as well. I think the movie is inconsistent with that one, because according to what the book was saying, he was the one who introduced her, because when he met her, she was in church and she was singing, right? And he had already had some exposure. So I think they kind of skewed it for the movie. Given that they use the books as reference, I would have to go with the book on that one. I would have to go with the book on that one. I think she was more dedicated. I think she was more committed to when he may have been varying in certain aspects, but I'll have to go with the book on that one. Nova was something else. He indeed was something else. And Bob kind of, right, we saw in the Marley documentary, I forgot whose mother that is, saying he would come around and say little things. So he kind of has some Norval in him. Why they said Rita's book is 80% true. Feel free to share what parts. Usually, what part do you think Rita is not telling the truth about? I would start there. What part is she not telling the truth about? Let's see here. Men are emotionally immature and equate lust with love more while so many are married when they're really ready and single otherwise. What are your thoughts on that? Men, are y'all in the building? Where are y'all, men? We want to hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts? Would you have married a whole woman, breed her, impregnated her, given her a belly, and then continue to deny that you were married to said woman? Can any man, if there's a man in the audience, respectfully, can you defend what Bob did? Not saying, like, would you do it for yourself? Not defend a next man action, but would you do it for yourself, or would you condone something like that being done? And not only Bob, because Is This Love? I do have Sadella on the poster. Do you think Sadella and Mr. Taddy were in love? Like, what was that? Like, what was that? Was Sadella and Mr. Taddy in love? And was Sadella and Norval in love? Oh my goodness. Okay. Bob made Rita a backup singer so he could keep an eye on her. I think so. I think so. Because the book goes on to say, and I do, guess who I have in the building? I just overwhelmed right now and have not gone to it. I know some people are like, I'm a researcher, so I like to kind of gather all my data and then source through it. The Don Taylor book has arrived. The first thing I see off the bat is that he included some official documents. I haven't gotten an opportunity because there's just too much going on right now, but I'm like, okay, this is interesting, right? From what I was able to just scan through whatever documents he put. So he said his first tour in 1973, she gets pregnant with Stephanie. Then in 74, she joins him after the breakup of Bunny and Peter. And if you listen to the video I put on the community board, the one they said he wanted to destroy, that video is really telling. He was in his feelings in that video. And so I could see why after he got it out, he was probably like, yeah, nah, don't put that out. But the things that he says in there really shows you why they really broke up to a certain degree. And I do think he saw it as an opportune time to get her away from the man, not only from him with Rita, but around the children. Because according to Rita, Toddy would come around, pick the children up, take them to school, this, that, and the third. So he must be thinking like, what? Y'all a man around me, pick them to Rita, what kind of disrespect? And I think he went hard. Like if he was going hard before, like in 71, when he breed up Tree Woman, He was going hard in the paint on tour. I think he wanted to make her feel the pain because now he's doing it in her face, right? Um, what I also found compelling the other day, I came across Peter Tosh, right? Just hear me out because it's a theory. What's the name of the woman? I don't want to. What's her name? Yvette? No, is her name Yvette? Oh gosh, her name escapes me right now. Y'all tell me Peter Tosh's girlfriend name, the one who unfortunately passed away. Bob Marley says something curious in the interview where he says, oh, when me first did I talk to Esther, like them I said, what me I do with that girl like Esther? This is when Esther Anderson first comes around. But at the time, if not around that time, Peter Tosh meets this beautiful young woman, right? And I'm thinking, how did that dynamic? And later on, before they break up, he says that he wants her on tour. And there's a picture of her going on the US tour when Bunny Wailer left in England and they came to America. So I'm thinking to myself, how did that dynamic play into the whole conversation? Right? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how it plays in, but if you have any information about that, remind me of her name again, because this her name is at the tip of my tongue, but I don't want to give the wrong name because so much name. Did he adopt the outside kids? I don't know. I don't know. Yes, Sedella's book, again, like I said, on the site that I gave last week on archive.org, you can borrow an electronic copy for like 48 hours or 24 hours or something like that. So they have this called archives.org and they have an electronic copy. There you can read it and then, get an idea of what it's saying. So that didn't help the toxic relationship with married man Taddy. Yeah, how I'm just confused at what was going on in Jamaica at this time. So again, Bob doesn't see Sedella with his father. He sees this imprint that he sees is Sedella with this very abusive man, which is Taddy, right? At the time where emotionally he's going from a boy to a man. So that imprint, first there was somebody missing, and then when somebody is there, this person is highly toxic, highly possessive, according to the narrative. Y'all know I keep saying according to the narrative because I don't know these people. According to the narrative, he's possessive, he's jealous, and he's controlling. And Bob, in a certain way, in that Esther Anderson documentary, let me know if you guys saw that. When Esther is talking to another man and she's having a reasoning with him, the way Bob is like drinking the way he drinking the what you call it and looking, you could tell that something is going on in his mind, like, oh, in my talk to my man. And according to Esther, Bob was upset that he didn't get to impregnate her because she was on birth control pills, according to Esther. Okay, so maybe impregnating the woman was the Omariah in him, and it gives him a means of access and control to these women, and then he goes on to the next. Definitely, there was some method to his madness. He didn't just want to be with them. He wanted to impregnate them. He wanted to leave. He wanted to Nick Cannon them. You know what I'm saying? Something was going on there. I know Sedella did say in her book that Bob loved Rita to his last breath. So now we have to define love. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me no more. Because Rita was hurt. She was hurt. And she continued to hurt. So then the question is, what is love? And is it supposed to hurt like that? Is love supposed to hurt like that? And if it does, then is that love? Questions for the audience. Let me drop down here. Yeah, Bob's grandfather passes in 1964, if I'm not mistaken, and things fall apart at home. And basically, he's in this limbo. His mother leaves in 1962. Grandfather passed in 1964. He's in an abusive household. They got him like a little boy. We're going to read that next. Like a little boy, Bob must do this, Bob must do that. So he's feeling like oppressed. And this is how he end up asking Cox and Dodd. And he gets, he's bouncing now from place to place, trying to find a place to live, right? Let's see. What's the information for writing your own book? Okay, I have a free course that you can check out. I would say, hold on one second. Starting off to write your own book, just to even start off, you can just journal. Like really see what angle you want to come at your book with. Hold on one second. And just start reflecting because it's gonna be a process. It's a journey. I actually wrote here, I put the link in the box. I actually started writing my own life book like when I was 24 years old. And what I did, much like that's why I can appreciate what Sadella did, is that I started to ask and speak to my parents, my grandparents, and started to ask questions and started to just jot down things, right? Of where you come from, like all of these things, depending on how you want to approach this book, because we weren't there. Like, how did you meet such and such and what was going on? And I think why I can identify with Sadella is because she's born in the 1920s, the same time as my grandparents, right? In the same place, in Jamaica, in Spanish Town, close. She's born in the country, but she comes to Kingston. And they're born in this place where a lot of the same familiar conversation that's going on. Somebody said, Amuna must grew around our granny. Like I've heard these conversations growing up. And so what I started to do, the first part in writing your own book is collecting information. And in order to make it, you have to back up from it. Because some people want to say, yes, I was born in 19, well, no. And then you started from there, but you have to broaden the lens a little bit so that you can kind of get the idea of what was happening before you was created. It's like when you get behind the music. Like somebody writes a song and you say, oh, Marvin Gaye, what inspired you to make that song? And he's going to give you that colorful context of what was going on. And so if your parents are still alive, grandparents are still alive, aunts and uncles, people who were there who can tell you things you didn't know, I think that would be an excellent place to start. And just write it down, write it down, write it down. If you can't write fast enough, get a recorder on your phone and start recording things that they are saying, because it's going to come in handy. But I just put the free link to how to start writing your book. Yep, I could appreciate Sadella. Her book is a gift. I agree. I agree. This book right here is fire. I read this one first. And this one is informative. I ain't gonna hold you. It's informative. But this one right here so far is my favorite because Sadella is hilarious. Sadella is funny to me. Bob was on a mission. Faith says in that 1975 interview you shared, Bob talks about Esther. Yeah, he does. How women shouldn't do their things they're not supposed to. I think that was shade on Rita. That was a whole shade tree right there. That was a weeping willow tree right there. I think women doing things they weren't supposed to do. I think he's alluding to Rita in that instance because I felt that, and I ain't Rita. I was like, dang, Bob. Yeah, woman out here do things where they're not supposed to do. You know, rules for thee and not for me. Da, 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 da. Shop shanana. We cry eternally. I'm looking down here. I burst into song, y'all. Y'all just gotta forgive me. My willow tree. I know that song. Don't shed no tears eternally. Cause I have found the love I've searched for. And I need your tears. You know, after I do the recording, I'm like, dang, I should have sung that song. But I don't even remember it after I finish. Let me see. Sadella book already mentions in the book. Yeah, she does say that. We didn't get to that part, but she was like, Rita said that Aital Taki had bought her a ring and everything, doing the most. I think in Rita's mind, what Rita does say is that once she stopped having intimacy, being intimate with Bob, I think to her that was the separation. She does say if he could play, then she could play too. And I think because according to her, he wouldn't give her the divorce. This separation, let me see if I can get it. This separation for her was enough to go on and move on with her life in another relationship. I think that was the rationale. If I'm allowed to explore possibly the information that we have been given, I think the rationale was, you know what? As she said, if you could play, I could play. However, we're done here. Basically, she said that we're family because we created these children together. But as it relates to you and I, we're done. And I believe that's what she said. That's what she said. So maybe in her mind, Bob was like, we in the circle. This is that circle, Rita. And you and me and nobody can come in. So in Bob's mind, he's like, Rita, get a grip. Go take a one draw. One draw. He was like, go take a draw, because I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, my wife, Rita. So she was kind of like, I can't find it right now. She was in an impossible situation. Yes, that's what he said. He came, right. He came to America. He saw American things. And when he went back, he was like, oh, your head looks so. Yo, the way he talks, Bob reminds me of somebody I know. When that's why sometimes when I'm reading what he's saying, I'm laughing, guys, because I know someone. I know someone who talks just like him to this day, to this very blessed day. And so I don't know why it's funny to me, but it is. Okay, anybody want to come on up? If not, let me see. Natasha says, Rita was not that type of woman. She seemed very faithful to Bob. She was lonely. Lonely. And she needed some affection. Like he kind of left her away. Even the Bible tells you when you first marry a woman, you're supposed to spend a year to cheer her up. And in the year, she was already crying to his mother that he was leaving her. He was chilling with man on man. He was out there smoking. He ain't had no job. Let's keep it a buck. For like the first 10 years, Bob was a struggling artist. Yeah, he was struggle rapping. He was struggle playing. So he wasn't bringing in the resources that would justify his behavior, right? And so, for a long time, they were dependent upon her and her family's resources. Can we talk about Sandra Kong and Sydney both being friends with Will Smith? I was actually going to read those articles because I found those articles and I thought they would be interesting to read. What do we make of the Obia woman on the... Okay, I'm only going to take that with a grain of salt because Bob was putting 20 on 10. I think he was putting 20 on 10. He wants to justify himself. He wants to give all this occasion, but we just heard Coxon died. Let me play Coxon again. Because you had the shoes, you had the cake, you had the clothes, you had the photographer, you had the boiled dumpling and goat. You had the food. Therefore, nobody can come on the day and obey you. You was already prepared for the day. Let me play
Bob, when he met Rita here and Rita got pregnant, I took the financial expense to get them married because I figured this was the right way, and I'm trying to be like a father figure.
You see that? So I think Bob was putting 20 on 10. Mama, mama, I think somebody obey a man, because the obey a woman. Come on, Bob, stop playing. You was already there. You was already in your outfit, bro. You came to get married. If you would have said she came after Coxon told you what he told you, then maybe that's different. But, bro, you was already there. You was prepared. Stephen Marley remind you of Jacob Miller. I don't think that Sedella like she was a dead meat beat in that sense. I think, like I said, the trauma is hitting everybody. It didn't begin. She's a product of her environment, right? Her mother died. Who was mothering her from the age of 10? Her father told her, it's okay, darling. You don't got to go to school, and started allowing her to go to the farm at 10 years old to stop her schooling. Sedella is a product of her environment. There's all of these women around, all of this stuff around, people here and there. This old man, he over there trying to finesse you. And so certain things, maybe there's a possibility along the way she's learning pieces from her older sisters, or, she's the father's woman them is here and there. Another woman came in her mother's bed. I think there's a lot going on with Sedella that by the time she becomes 16, like she said, she was afraid. She didn't know what it meant to be a mother. She wasn't prepared. She was too young. She didn't have the skills. And so she's kind of learning on the job. So with that, for me personally, I give her some grace, even though some of the stuff is like, yo, what were you doing? But I give her some grace in this area because she's kind of wedged in between a lot of things that are going on. And she tries. It's not like she doesn't try. She tries. Even she goes and tries to hold Captain accountable. It's because of her that his name was in the paper, right? She's trying, but she's making very bad decisions, which sometimes when you're caught in a cycle, you're not seeing correctly. You're only looking at survival, and she's looking for direction. Should I go turn a igla? Oh no, they stole my stuff. Should I try a shop? Oh no, it's not working. She's trying the best that she can at the time. And for to be honest, a lot of people, women, fathers left their children during this time to go to England, to go to Canada, to go to America. You know, a lot of people had to make these very difficult decisions to leave their children behind in hopes of bringing them. So according to her, she had intention to come back for them, but she's saying, how would she stay in this house with Toddy? First of all, my contention is, if you didn't breed all this time, why did you wait till you breed and then want to leave? But nonetheless, she stays in this. How could she stay in this house with this new baby and this very abusive man? And she sees this way out. And I guess she figures her sister could watch the child and then she'll be back. Rita laments also because all this time that they're on the road, their children are being raised by the aunt, by other people. Like Rita also, when she's on the road for the 6-7 years, she's not there every day with her children either, because they're trying to make a better life for them. So there's a lot going on. I think even if we look at some of our own families, especially those who migrated, like I said, when I looked at my own family, I struggled for a very long time of what Sedella did. Like, how could you leave this little baby? But then again, what's going on in the mind of the mother looking at your child and wondering, is this going to be the life? Because according to her, if she would have stayed, he would have took her out, because that's how toxic their relationship was. So I guess she didn't want to go back to Nine Mile. It says Rita and Bob mother are both Leo women. Yeah, they are. They not only look alike, their birthdays are within 2 days. Will my book get yeah, will my book get to narration? I actually started it. That's a whole nother project right there. That's a whole nother project to read Island Twist, because, and also why I can appreciate Sedella. I love her colorful language. I love the expression, and Anthony Winkler. I looked him up. He was like excellent. He was European, but he's European Jamaican novelist coming out of Jamaica during that time. So I mean, the book is simply written, but it's beautifully written. So I could appreciate it for that, and it has humor in there. It's not dry. It's not pretentious. You understand what I'm saying? So definitely, I kind of wrote Island Twist in that way, to have the culture woven into the storyline so that we can feel connected to it. Because when I read literature and different literature, like, I don't see us. You know what I mean? I don't see. Even the other day, a book came out, Black Cake. I don't know how many people saw that, and then Oprah Winfrey them turned it into was it Netflix, or turned it into a Hulu, something, turned it into a series. And I was just in so much pain listening to the accents of the actors that they got to act it. I'm like, who's giving care to the narrative? Like, why are they doing this? You know what I mean? So I think it's important for our voices to be on our stories. But didn't Bob say to Rita he wanted to get her pregnant every year, but she had to. I'm not sure where you heard that one from. I didn't hear that one. Me no know. Me never hear that one day. Possibly. Me not say no, but Sedella was a Métis. She was cool with. I mean, Sedella was a wife. She was a widow who became a Métis, who went back to being a wife. Because remember, she came to America. We didn't get to that part yet. She marries Mr. Booker, and then she's with him until he passed, right? And he kind of mellows her out. He kind of gives her this peace, this rest that she hadn't had in the beginning part of her life. So it's interesting to see her transition into her life in America and finally getting that balance that she didn't get this entire time. So she, at least, but then she was still to a certain degree dependent on the men in her life, right? And which kind of compromised her. It's like somebody saying, like, she's placating towards Bob or towards Rita, because all the time in the balance is her well-being, right? And she kind of has to juggle these things. So that's how I see her. Bob has gone. What is it now? Bob has done what many men have done for centuries, but men sacrifice love for duty and respect. The link is in the box, guys. I'm looking for. Oh no, wait, another link. That hold on there. Can we unpack that? Bob has done what many guys have done for centuries, but men sacrifice love for duty and respect. Hmm. Unpack it if you would like. Probably would with a headship. Yes, Sedella was groomed. She definitely was, and we can't overlook that. And remember, when she tried to establish herself, when she tried to say no, she wanted to be chased, or she wanted to get herself together. Not only did she get chastised from Captain, who tried to whip her, she also got chastised from her father because her father didn't want her to indirectly say that he was doing wrong, because if Captain was doing wrong, that means he would be doing wrong as well. And then her father stopped her from going to church. So sometimes people are not advising you for your betterment, they're advising you so that they could feel comfortable in what it is that they're doing. And I'm not over on YouTube, but don't forget to, let me see the way I go on with the like button, them over there on YouTube. Don't forget to like up the thing and share up the thing and all of that stuff. Evita says, another inconsistency I saw in Rita's book. She says her and Bob gave Ziggy his name because it comes from a move in soccer. But I saw Ziggy on Jennifer Hudson talk, and he said he got that. I must have missed something. Nickname from Ziggy being the end of a joint. Why? Me no know, you know. You forgot. Ziggy, you out there? Where did they get this story from? All right, I have someone, Tate, in the welcome to the conversation. You can unmute your mic. For some reason, the mic is muted. While we're waiting for Tate, I am going to play a quick little commercial. Shout out to all of those who have gotten the Island Twist book. I look forward to your thoughts. And did you guys know? I don't say I might have a snack. I'm going to play another thing because we have another book. So hold on. Listener, all of this jokes and reading got me feeling a little hungry. Do you guys come with your snacks ready, or do you think it's time for an ITAL food break? The Russ and him Empress say, yeah, ITAL food break. So listener, this is Imuna, and not only do I read and write novels, I also do a little something, something. Well, a kind of big something in the kitchen, right? So I wrote this amazing Hey Pumpkin Cookbook. Inside, pumpkin seed milk, carrot punch, smoothie, listener, even jerk tofu strips. But the tofu is made from pumpkin seeds. So join me on a culinary adventure with the pumpkin seed as we explore the benefits of this green superfood. You already know potassium, zinc, it is loaded and highly beneficial. Again, a high source of iron, zinc, magnesium, vitamin E, and it helps boost the immune system. This book, as well as Island Twist, is available on Amazon today. So go on over and let's get back to the story. You see that? Multi-talented. But no, I wrote that book because I was in the food industry for last 5-7 years, and people kept saying, Amuna, when you gonna write a cookbook? When you gonna write a cookbook? So I decided to write a cookbook that concentrated on one particular food item, and in this case, it was pumpkin seeds. And surprise, surprise, you could do a lot of things with pumpkin seeds. So definitely check it out if you are interested. Let me continue. I think we lost Tate. Wait, it look like them. I come back now. In Rita's book, she mentions how Bob would be very possessive and jealous over here. Sound like Mr. Taddy. Check her phone, turn up at her morning jogs to make sure she was indeed with her friend. Yeah, yeah. Let me see if Tate is ready now. Welcome to
Hello,
the.
hi Mona.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Sorry, I was fixing my microphone.
No problem.
So I'm ahead in the book, and I don't know if you've gotten to this part of the Rita Marley book, but it's kind of like towards the middle, towards the end, when he's diagnosed with cancer, and then they're all in Germany. So Cinda, Rita, and Pascaline,
Mm-hmm.
his African girlfriend.
Yes.
And at that point of the book, Rita said that it was pretty much over with Cindy. And he sent her away.
Yes, I saw
He
that.
told her to stop coming.
Yes.
But I don't really think that Bob, as I'm reading the book, I don't think he actually like loved any of the women. I just think that he used the woman to fulfill his emotional needs during different parts of his life. Because when I was reading the book, it kind of seems like Rita was in a one way, like kind of
Mm,
marriage. I think he had completely like abandoned her emotionally. And like the things you require a husband to do to protect you and all that. I don't think he was there, but he was kind of also making sure his kids with Rita were okay financially. Like he was buying her a house and stuff.
mm-hmm.
But I don't think he was like a proper husband to her. And if the I read that well Rita talks about Cindy like she was one of Chris Blackwell's kittens. She
Yes,
refers to Cindy
I
as
saw
one of
that.
his kittens.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of goes back to what you were saying that it does look like Cindy was put there to kind of advance his career.
I agree. I thank you. I like
Um,
your assessments. I agree. I concur. Yeah, I definitely agree. I
um,
don't think he was able to meet her needs as a husband totally. So I agree with that.
yes, yes. I feel like it'd be really interesting if we had like a Netflix series because kind of I like um I guess you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they got married when he was 19 or 20, but during that time he did have like kind of a music career in Jamaica before he broke mainstream, right?
He started recording, so he had he had a buzz um locally. So I guess that would be the beginnings. Yes, that would be the beginnings of his career.
Ah, okay. It's quite sad. Like we all grew up listening to Bob Marley, but I never expected him to have the same. I didn't know that he experienced fame. I knew he was a musician, but by fame I mean like the um like what he was going like what he experienced like with groupies and all that.
Right.
But his story is so similar to like rappers today.
It
All your
is.
favorite
It
rappers,
is. I
the
agree.
Jay-Z's. I remember I used to be a huge Tupac fan, but if you look into his life, he wasn't that great to women as well. Um,
And you see some
yeah,
similarities. Tupac didn't know his father. I did a whole
yeah,
series for those who think I did a whole series before I did this one. And thank you so much for that.
mm,
On Tupac's father, in respect to him coming out like last year and giving all of these fanciful stories about Tupac as a baby. So if you want to see that, I read Afeni Shakur's book somewhere about the place. I read Afeni Shakur's book, his mother, because there are some similarities in them not knowing the father and how they grow up as men and ultimately treat their women. So yes, I
yeah,
agree.
that's true. And there are also similarities with their mothers as well, because like they both kind of had like their mothers were physically present, but they kind of abandoned them too. Because I know with Tupac, his mom was mostly into like I'd say drugs during the time, so she had other issues. And Tupac went to live with relatives similar. Well, not Bob's mother wasn't into drugs, but she was kind of like chasing men. And she left her son and her sister to go be with a man in the US. So they kind of also have abandonment issues with their mothers.
Yeah, they do have abandonment issues. Tupac's mother's drug situation. It's a
Mm,
sad story. Like I said, I did
yeah.
that one, but it comes later on. I think Tupac's issue really was that it was it was very political at that time. Number one,
Mm,
his mother is caught up in this Panther 21 situation. I'm gonna pause on Bob Marley for a second because you brought up some interesting correlations. And Monique, I hear you. I'm gonna come to you in 1 second. But in the case of Tupac, it was more political. Bob Marley was political at the end, but Tupac's parents, it was political. They got caught up into this Panther 21 situation, and the person who impregnates her, he is the driver to
mm,
she was married
mm,
right, quote unquote. And
yeah.
so the man who she is in jail with, is not the baby's father. So it's a lot of other things that were surrounding it, but I do see a little bit of similarities or parallels between what ultimately ends up happening. But that's another story for another day. I could go on a tangent on that one. But thank you so much for your thoughts.
All right, thank you also.
Thank you. All right, Monique, welcome to the conversation.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hey, Mona. I love your channel, by the way.
Thank
It's
you.
very
Thank you.
entertaining.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you a question, though,
Okay.
um, about Rita's perception of her relationship,
Mm-hmm.
especially how she describes it in the book. And I
Mm-hmm.
had commented about it in the comment section,
Mm-hmm.
um, about how she mentions that Bob had relationships while they were dating,
Mm-hmm.
but she kind of like glosses over
Yes, she
it.
does. She does.
She'll say stuff, but then she just kind of glosses over it and then moves on to the next thing, and you have to like go back, like, wait a minute.
Yeah. What did I
Um,
just read?
yeah.
Yeah. I would
So
say I would say maybe it's a personality thing. You know, if you look at all that she had to carry, then you have to ask the question, how did she carry that? Because that's very heavy. So maybe that is the way in which she deals with things. Like I'm gonna briefly acknowledge it and then I'm gonna gloss over it and go to because I noticed that she does that a lot. So somebody may be like, well, didn't you know he had other people? Yeah, I did. But anyway, and then she moves on, right? So that may be just her personality and how she deals with the tough issues, possibly. That's what I got from it. But go ahead.
yeah, I just thought that that was interesting because it appears that this is something that has been going on, not just like in the beginning, but also like when he went to Delaware. And then she mentions how his mom was trying to find other women for him, knowing that he was married. Um, and I thought that that was interesting also. She doesn't really go into that. We don't know if he entertained any of those women. She doesn't really address that. But then again, she may not have known either. So
Well,
I don't
according
know.
to the mother, she claimed it was other women family members, which I thought was weird. Why wouldn't he want to talk to other women family members? But according to the mother, when women would call, he would tell her she deal with them. She referring to his mom, he doesn't want to talk to them. But so according to her, he was very tunnel vision when he went to Delaware, just going to his job and strumming his instrument, and he was very much into Rita. This is Sedella's retelling, right? And she was there and Rita wasn't, so we kind of gotta, with a grain of salt, go with what she was saying. But there's a possibility that Rita reminded him of his mother, and then when he goes to Delaware, he's faced with his mother, not the memory of her, the reality of her. Because now his mother has recreated a house in which his new siblings get what he never had. We also have to consider what's going on when he gets there, right? He's seeing a construct by which there. That's why Rita says she kind of liked going there. There was structure. They had certain things in check. So he may have even felt the way possibly that, wow, oh, you finally got your life together now. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not in his head, but as an older child, finally seeing your parent get it together after you, you're like now, or with your grandchildren, you're like, oh wow, you could have did that for me. You know what I mean? But go ahead.
Um, I mean, that was pretty much what I wanted to bring up. It's just that for me, I think she has an interesting perspective. And I do agree with Tate when she said that it seems like they had like a one-sided relationship. As far as like he may not like addressing your question, like, is this love? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it seemed like it was mainly more like she was in love than he was. I don't know. Or maybe she wanted it more or something like that. What do you think of that?
Like I said earlier on when I was reading it, I think it's a trauma bond. Tell you the truth. I think they're trauma bonded. They shared in their trauma when they first met each other. Your mom left, mine too. Your dad ain't here, mine too. When we share these traumatic experiences, we it sometimes it looks like love. It can mimic love, but you are connected on these. It's like somebody connected with a cellie from jail. they went through, or they connected with the person who they went through so much stuff with. It may mimic love, but at the core of it, it's based on trauma. You understand what I'm saying? That was the adhesive glue that kind of pulled them together in that way. So much so that she left the comfort of her home to go down to the studio and then get attacked by the duppy puss. Because now she feels like, I'm so connected to you. Now it's my job to protect you. You understand what I said? Like, as it relates to love, how much could he really give her when he himself was struggling in many aspects? That's my thoughts on that. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Be like, no, man, I was love. But I'm like, it looked like a trauma bond to me. But okay.
I agree with that. I agree with you about it's more like a trauma bond, in my
Hmm.
opinion. Yeah.
Which after you pass the honeymoon phase in a trauma bond, Tate, you're gonna have to go out and come back in. For some reason it's saying device not connected. Once you pass the honeymoon phase in the trauma bond, you can never get that back. And it becomes very toxic, which is what we see for the rest of the duration. Even his mother says it, and so does Rita. The rest of the duration of the relationship is crazy. You understand what I'm saying? So that goes to show you that where did all that love go? Like, you would bring her out, leave her in the house, go smoke weed, chill out with your boys, and just leave her to deal with all the things that need to be dealt with. And saw that it was hurting her, and then go like, no, woman, don't cry. I low-key think don't cry was like, yo, bruh, stop. I don't want to hear it. Like, because if you flip the song on his head, and this is just my thought, if somebody's crying, it's like our parents going, where I can cry for? Stop it crying. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It just means, okay, you're annoying me now. Please stop crying. Because Rita says that she was a Bali type. She would cry for everything. You know what I mean? In Rita's book, she cried often. So if he's seeing this, at first it may compel him to action, and afterwards it may be just an annoyance, possibly. That's just my thought. But Bob was also a crier, so according to the narrative. That's my
He
thought.
doesn't seem like a crier to me. Like, I mean, obviously we don't know him, but he doesn't look like that.
Norval, he probably got it from Norval. They said Norval was a crier. I think actually his daughter, I think the oldest daughter said that when she was moving somewhere, and he realized she was going to be far away, that he started crying. So it's not only just Rita saying he's crying and his mom, like the children are also saying that he had a softer side, right? That you could tell he's emotional because he writes a lot of songs. In order to be, as a man, to be in contact with that much emotion, you have to be in touch with that, the feminine, not female people, the feminine aspect of your soul, right? That's where expression is coming from, really. And he's really in touch with it because he's very vocal about it. So that's my thoughts on that. I want to thank you. This is a good conversation.
Thank
Anybody?
you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else have anything else to share? I don't know what's wrong with Tate. It keeps saying device not connected. Love should hurt. What that? Love should hurt for Black women. Love is not supposed to hurt like that. I agree. We don't know what kind of love that. We need to normalize compassion, love, and not be. I agree here, Natasha. I don't know what kind of love that is. That look like, like, that's love. Is this love? And you hurting like that? I don't know. I don't know. Jerry said, can't take nothing with Sedella said. Why y'all going hard on Sedella? Now y'all gotta stop now, because Sedella said that she took Norval to court, and we found the paperwork. She took Norval to court. Sedella said she got married in 1944, and the survey says she got married in 1944. So, Sedella told me about her mama, and I found her mama name, just like she said. So, I'm not going to go that hard on Sedella. I mean, some of the stuff, maybe, but some of the factual things, she been lining up now. She been lining up. Let's see. Because member said she did have to act nice to Rita. Yeah. But Bob was a typical Jamaican man, wanted to have enough woman, but I think he was beyond typical, because Bob was a little Omariah with it. The typical might breed like an extra, like Taddy, an extra one or two, maybe three on the side. But the magnitude, I think that was beyond typical. He was over. Uh, Willa couldn't dare be with another man. He wanted her loyal and at home taking care of Pickney. That's why he took her infidelity bad. I think he did take the infidelity bad. I think he took it bud, like tree bad, bad to the third degree, bud. We think it bun him, so till he couldn't bun him no more. I really do. All right, Tate is back. She has one more thing to say. Let me see here.
Hi, I'm back.
All right,
But I
Tate.
had two questions to ask you. I know the first one it will sound a bit dumb, but my whole life until I watched this movie One Love recently, I did not know that Bob Marley was mixed race. I always thought he was like a full
Oh
um
wow.
black man. I think it's because
Mhm.
the way he presented or the way he looked.
Right, his locks. He had the
So
natties.
I
Yeah.
So, like when I went to watch the movie One Love, I found that really interesting. But then I was also gonna ask you if you got in Rita's book. I haven't read Zadella Marley's book, but this is like when he's getting ready to do his last album, Uprising, because I think it was the last album contractually with Chris Blackwell. And
Hmm.
then Rita is talking about yeah, they should use money to kind of like build to expand their house for them to live together. Because he was talking about maybe retiring and living with the
Right.
kids, and then he was like, "I'm not interested. He'll just buy his own house."
Mm.
Um, and I think that there were so many red flags in like their relationship. I don't like when I was reading her book that she just didn't see it because he was telling her in so many ways that like she wasn't really gonna be there in their future. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw in the end where he wanted to. His plans was to retire, and and like you said, I think she saw it, man. I think she saw it, but then the question is, they created such a energy around him. Like, what was she really going to do? I think she was stuck between what she had to do as a mother, her needs as a woman and a wife, and how she was being treated. Is a very She's kind of suspended in this space. Like, what was she gonna do? You know what I mean? And so I think there's a difficulty and a complexity in Rita's, because to a certain degree in the beginning of the book she talks about being a daddy's girl, right? And so as a father's girl, and being, because Rita also has a mother wound, Bob is not that person. So now what is she supposed to do? Her emotional needs are not being met, you know, mentally she's going through all of these changes. And so I think she saw it. I think she saw it and she understood it, but maybe she didn't know how to navigate around it. You know what I mean?
Do you think that like financial like issues kept them together? Like, do you think like Bob knew? Because I know that with his success in his career, I'm pretty sure he was kind of like reminded that Rita is who he was with when he was impoverished.
Probably she does remind. Somebody said in the comment section, and that had me, that she was a starter wife. I think he is very aware of it, and I think, like for many people, when success comes that fast, remember he's hammering away for 10 years, not really gone, and then he takes off. Right? It's
Mm.
unsettling. It's unsettling, and you oftentimes, when you're taking up in a world when you're looking for an anchor, and whether even though he treated her all of this way, to a certain degree she may have been an anchor for him, like back to when, something that I can come back down to earth. And then she does have all of these, she has most of the children for him. And you know he ain't, I mean, people's like, he didn't divorce her. Maybe he didn't want to. You know what I mean? It's like collect them items. Like, he was Pokemon out here, he got to collect them all. I don't know. I think there was a lot going on with him that he didn't really get a chance to say for himself, right, when he came down, because he was still up when he went down. Because even the last interview, they were like, "Oh, Bob, we hear that you're sick," and he's like, "No, man, I'm soon come back," right? So I don't think he expected that when he finally reached his ascent, that he was going to come down the way he did. So he didn't have an opportunity to get back into himself and really assess the thing. Like Bunny Wailer. Bunny Wailer is really the only one who had all of this time to kind of full circle come around and really sit with his choices. Although, I'm just saying for the length of time he lived. But yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
that's true. But I wonder, I'm so confused on why he didn't divorce. So maybe there were people in his circle telling him not to divorce. She'll get half the money or whatever. I don't know.
I mean, at the end of the day, in his heart of hearts, him alone must know why. You know what I mean? Why he didn't. You know what I mean? In his heart of
Yeah,
hearts,
that's
he know he was cutting up and doing the most, but he also probably knew that she was going to do what needed to be done. You know what I mean? So that's my
that's true.
thoughts on that. But thank you so much.
I'd I'd really love to get like books from some of his kids.
I mean, Kimani has a
If
book, but I think it's sold out. I don't
hmm,
know if all the other. You know what I found interesting, and then I'm gonna read some of these comments. Is that they were interviewing Ziggy for the One Love movie, and he says he doesn't read any of the books. Like
hmm.
they're like, how many books have been read? He's like, I don't read none of them book day. I'm like, really, sir? So you know all that there is to know. I think sadly, and this is just my thoughts in observing them, because this thing happened with their father, who then people have made into this legend. They
Hmm,
are living with the passing, the death of their father on a continual basis. And because they have to live in this space, I don't think that true, real healing has been able to take place. This is just my observation,
that's
because
true.
it's always asked of them to continually relive this point in their history, right? And so that
That's true.
also is the injury. Like I talked about, Norval lost a father early, Sadella lost a mother. Now they lost a father, but in their case, they're reliving it on a continual basis. So when I heard Ziggy say that, I'm like, and they asked him, well, did you find out things you didn't know? And Rowan didn't know his dad was sick. Rowan said he didn't know his dad was sick until he watched the One Love movie. There's a lot
Hmm.
there that's telling me that this family definitely, I mean, I know Ayana Fix My Life is not on the TV no more, but they definitely need some time to heal. That's
Did
just
you
my.
see the interview with Sadella and Marley? A long time. Well, it was released a long time ago, but she said that I think she's the oldest of Bob's kids, with Rita, and she said that the way she remembers her father, he was like not the softest,
I
and
saw that.
I think
Yeah.
she expected differently as a girl,
Yeah, I saw
but
that.
she said it made her grow up into become a tough cookie.
Yeah, I saw that. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of things. We could definitely have another live stream for that one. I think based on hearing them and seeing what they say sometimes, yeah. And
It's
based on
true.
the fact that they have to represent their father in the way the world now is perceiving him, um, could be difficult. It could really be
Yeah,
difficult.
that's very true.
So thank you
I
so
mean,
much.
he's a very good musician. But I
Yes.
think his private life, he looks like he
He
was a
struggled
completely different human
like
being.
many great musicians. I began to read Marvin Gaye's Marvin Gaye's biography.
Mm.
That's all I gotta say. You'll be like, what? Yeah, Marvin Gaye's is it his autobiography? I think it's his biography. A lot of great musicians, all of that we're experiencing, all of the movingness of their music and their energy is coming from deep pain.
That's true.
Michael Jackson to Whitney Houston to Marvin Gaye to Aretha Franklin to a
Mm.
lot of these great musicians. There's a deep-seated pain that this energy is coming from. That this is why it can move the people in the way it does. But we also have to understand that when they do that, it kind of leaves them as this shell. They don't. It feels good for the minute. This is why they pour themselves into it. But when they're not in that space, when they're not in that element of
Yeah,
performing, they have to live
yeah,
with themselves and whatever it is
that's
that they're
true.
battling, and it's not always good.
That's true. That's true.
So that's my thoughts. Thank you so much again.
Right, thank you. I hope
All
you
right.
get the Don Taylor book. I'd love for you to read it and
I
review
have the
it.
Don Taylor book. It's sitting on my thing over there in the queue. It's in the queue.
Oh, okay. I hope you read it because I'd really love to read about his side of the beating. His side
Yeah.
of the story.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Fred, I bless. What time now? 125. 125. We're at 1 hour 25 minutes. I'm gonna come through these comments and then I'm a boogie, okay? Fred, the Esther Anderson movie is on YouTube. I put the link in the community section. If somebody sees the link, or you can go over there, it's like for rent for like $3.99, or you could buy it for $9.99. So it's over there. I don't think anyone was around to set the example for healthy relationships and marriage. As you have said, these behaviors were inherited from generation to generation. And it's for us to even, somebody asked about writing our own book. If we look at, do we have healthy examples? We look at our parents, we look at our grandparents, we look at our uncles, we look at the thought processes within our family, how they relate to women, how they relate to men, gender roles. And then we see the things that we may be struggling with, or the things our children may be struggling with. And we get to see that in Bob's case, it was what it was. And in our case, it may be something else, right? I think it's important in the healing journey for us to be able to identify and pinpoint those things so that we can work on them and root them out. At its finest, Norval didn't love Sadella. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, I put the link, that link on the that interview. I put the time marker underneath that video where he brought up Esther Anderson. Yeah, that's what I said. Man, 24. That's what I said. 24 was a long time ago. I was married to a man that did the same thing Bob did to Rita. He multiplied the herb. Oh no, sorry to hear that, Angela. There's some people who, it's something going on in their mind. Because how do you, like the question for Nick Cannon today, how are you a father to all these people? All of these souls, how are you present and being able to be what you need to be as a father figure and a husband, to show them that this is what a husband does for his wife and this is what a father does for his children? He's not able to do that, right? And so maybe he was a successful entertainer, but as a family man, that success, there are other people who had to step into that gap and really help your children to move along. So that's something to consider when you're having like 102 children. I think that men married the young ladies to make them honest. I mean, some of them was compelled. Like in the case of, they were compelled. I think it was man stepping to man saying, hey, you impregnated my daughter and you need to do right. I think, because if that was the case, men are not marrying women to make them honest. They're just breeding them. And what's happening is the father figure, it's like I watch a good amount of Nollywood, right? Nigerian movies. And I see how, because I see a lot of Caribbean in Nigeria and Ghana and all of those places. But one of the things that I noticed over the years of the makers and the producers of this Nigerian movie changing from the older generation to the newer generation is that the older generation understood that families were being married and that if you wanted their daughter, you had to appeal to the heads of the family. So in those older movies, they had to make their intentions known to the father, the uncle, the grandfather, the brother, whatever male figure was there. And those males held these males accountable. So Alberta's father held Omariah accountable. And Omariah was supposed to held Norval accountable. And Coxon died because Rita's father wasn't there, tried to hold Bob accountable. But once the men stopped holding the men accountable, the woman could chase him all over town. I'm pregnant. I don't know who did it. I don't know whose it is. Why? Because there's no man stepping up, be like, hey. So once the man on the other side, that is on the woman's side, is no longer there, the man, correct me if I'm wrong, but he doesn't always feel compelled to do right by her. That's my thoughts on that. Yvonne, I thought her name was Yvonne. Thank you so much, D. Perry. Yeah, Peter Tosh's girlfriend was named Yvonne. Evita says, I'm halfway through Rita's book, and the way she tells us about Bob, it makes me dislike him as a man. I mean, it's a possibility. And a husband. Outside of being a musical genius, he was meh. I would have to say, being around Rasta, even just more so than just general Jamaican population, but the Rasta community specifically, yeah. Somebody says, I don't understand how Sadella allowed Bob to bring other women around, totally disrespectful. Remember, Sadella says, this is why Sadella is living in, she experienced it as a girl. And so therefore, this is why Sadella was able to do it. Let me give y'all a little bit of why Sadella didn't really all the way feel that something was wrong. Hold on. Hold on, everybody. She said, Mama was dead. Papa, as we used to call my father, was busy with his fields. Years later, he would marry a woman named Lurleen Brown from Lucky Hill in parish of St. Mary, and she would move into my mother's room and sleep in my mother's bed. She's 10 years old, and she's trying to make sense of the fact that she's an orphan, and her father not only has all of these women in the district, she was groomed in this, that he also brought her someone, and she made note of it, into the house and in her mother's bed. So Sedella, from the generation before, was accustomed to this, so it wouldn't have been all the way out of the norm for her. Huh? I haven't confirmed that one. This is the first I'm hearing. Jonah Mowat was with Alan Skill Cole. Well, that tidbit, they kind of interested in Nasima. We have to go look into that. But now I said no, but that's interesting. I started, so we'll take the look at the free course. Angel says that you started writing. I agree. I think we all should write. I think our stories are important. I think the stories of those who came before us are important. And in order for us to pass it down to the next generation, we need to write it down. Like right now, even though I think the family needs healing, and for those who still need it, their grandmother and their mother, and they have a wealth of information that they can start their journey, because things that you don't know still affect you. Gallus man is the most jealous, controlling, suspicious, and possessive. He trusts no one because he can't be trusted. She said, "Ask me, oh me no." I mean, in the case of Bob, like I did in another episode, he know how he got Rita, and it's not lost on me. I think the episode was about karma. It's not lost that he stepped in between Rita and her baby father, and according to Rita, encouraged her to cut communication with with Sharon's father. So he knew how he got her, right? That was a bit jealous and controlling, because why wouldn't you want the father and her to be in contact? You understand what I say? So that also is something that needs to be noted as we go down their personal life that they share. It's your Bob impersonation. I'm telling you, I know somebody who sound sometimes I'll be listening to the interview and I'll be like, what in the world? I know somebody who sound just like Bob. Yeah, I have Don Taylor book over there. I have to get through this stuff first because it's a lot. But Lynette said Bob liked to dictate. I mean, according to Sidney Breakspear, he was like, take off the makeup off of your face, son. Do this, son, do that. So that's the controlling aspect. But he may have seen it from Toddy. Mr. Toddy, remember, Sedella said if Mr. Toddy didn't like what she had on, it would rip off her frock. So he literally seen this behavior model. How many people think Bob's actions pushed Rita in the arms of another man? Taki was a caring man who gave her attention. I do think he set the stage. I mean, bruh, you set the stage. I'm not justifying, like I said before. It is a sticky situation, but he did set the stage, because the neglect, according to the story, started very early, like literally right after they got married. All of that other stuff, oh, the baby and your formula and all of that flew through the window like three little birds, and he was on some next stuff. Don says Bob and Rita had a weird relationship. They would fight, and Bob was harsh to her on tour, but he would call her to his room after hours and deadbeats. That's abuse. I mean, Rita said they fought, and Sedella said they fought. So I'm not shocked that Don said they fought. It's abuse. That's why I said it was a trauma bond. It's a possessive, abusive, maladaptive relationship, and they needed prayers. And did you ever? Yeah, Taki's picture. Somebody actually sent it to me. Somebody sent it to me. I was looking for a picture when he was younger. This is a picture when he's older. But yeah, I found Taki. It says Don Taylor book. He said both Bob and Rita would sleep in separate rooms, but when everybody was asleep, Bob, I got sneak peeks. Don, because he always had everyone's keys. Abuse, man. What? Rita said auntie was Rita auntie. Where said Rita auntie did a dip in her bag? I don't know about that part there, you know. Listen, people, I try to keep it above board here. I try to keep it to what these people say and reading in between the lines. Okay. Why nobody joining the live? I mean, some people came in earlier. I'm just gonna boogie down here. What time? 1:35. What time now? Nearly 10 o'clock. Boozy. Let's see here. Evita said, I'm glad you're reading one book at a time. At first, I was mixing the information from CD. What I was doing was cross-referencing. And somebody asked me, like, why you not in Rita's? Because Rita didn't have the Bob situation before she knew him. So I had to go over to Sadella so that we can get the backstory. And we had to go back to Sadella. And this is how, like I said, to write your own life story, if the elders are still alive, I'm not talking about no behind the curtain business. I mean, if them still alive, get the information from them, because you're going to be like, wow. If you didn't know, you're going to see a connection that can be connected between what your great grandfather did and what you may have ended up doing. Like, tell you a story really quickly. As I was putting my family tree together with shoestring, because we never have enough information, right? And for years researching and putting this stuff, same stuff I'm doing here. And then one day, my mother came across a picture. I never knew what my great grandfather looked like, because he also left and came to America in the early 1900s, like 1912. Them with him, he came to Harlem, he came to New York, and do you know, I saw a picture, like one of the passport pictures of him, looked just like the man. Who would have thunk it? Right? I looked at him because the whole time I'm trying to put the storyline together, I'm feeling like what type of person this person would have been. And finally, I saw his face and I was like, oh, wow, okay. So this is what I'm saying. It's very cathartic, this process, if we allow it to be, if we move through the places. Like, I know it would have been hurtful to write this book. Even Rita, her skipping over some parts, it's difficult to go back into parts that you may not want to remember, right? That still causes you pain, but on the other side of the pain is healing. So I definitely implore you, if you have the wherewithal to do it, it is a rewarding journey. I wonder if Bob would have been who he is today if he was adopted. The other side of the family, maybe, because the other side, remember, Robert Marley, who he's named after, he was like a serial entrepreneur. He was into cricket. His sons played cricket, and he was a lawyer, and he was into business. It's interesting that Bob was big into promoting ganja, because his uncle before him was big in promoting spirits, alcohol. According to the story, he used to work at Ray and Nephew. And it's funny because back in the day, my grandfather used to work. A lot of people used to work at Ray and Nephew back in the day. So he used to work at Ray and Nephew, and from there he left and started his own business. So yeah, if he was with the other side of the family, maybe they would have promoted traditional education, and maybe he wouldn't have went in the course that he did. But he did. So here we are. Sadella didn't know what love looked like, just a lot of dysfunction. Yeah, I think there's a lot of dysfunction. I think that and breeding is one of the vestiges of slavery. That is one of the vestiges of enslavement. And here's something that I found in doing research about slavery in the Caribbean, is that at one point the slave masters were upset because melanated women were not, the birth rates were falling. So they were taking abortive plants so that they would not bring children. And unlike in America, where they started this whole breeding system, although America had it as well, the slave masters started saying, like, yo, if we catch you dashing away belly, it's going to be a problem, because they wanted more bodies so that they can raise more slaves. So that was something interesting I found about enslavement in the Caribbean, namely Jamaica. You don't think, you always say Narva wouldn't have let Bob be a Rasta? I'm gonna go ahead and come all down to the bottom. Okay, thank you, Lady Simpson. Lady Simpson says she just purchased Island Twist. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That book for let us pick a little thing. Island Twist is about the story of there are people who stayed in Jamaica, and then there's the immigration story, which is a very different story because you carry with it a lot of people who immigrate to wherever they did. They carry the island in their heart. Some afraid, so they assimilate, right? They take on the whole culture of the place that they're going to, and others acculturate. They kind of take on some pieces, but they maintain their culture. And so this story it has some twists and turns. This is why I call it Island Twist. I don't want to ruin it. Some funny parts inside there, but also some seriousness about how different cultures interface when you're seeking more opportunity. It's like Sadella. She came over here looking for opportunity, looking to get what they promised America would have for her. And a lot of people, whether they went to England, Canada, America, they realized, yes, you got monetary gain, but you lost the community, right? Where if you're hungry, you could go, that community pot, or you can pick a mango off the tree. So it was a trade-off. You didn't necessarily, people like, yeah, you're there foreign and you have all these things, but you lost a lot of things along the way. And so the book kind of explores that because I am the child of people who left the country and came to another country and started from scratch, trying to find their way towards better, right? So if anybody has anything else to say, slavery had a big effect on the men, also in terms of patriarchy, stripping them of all power except control over the woman. And that's absolutely true, right? So this is why men oftentimes post-slavery they cannot control oftentimes what's going on outside, because in the bigger scheme of things, if you say who's over the banks and who's over the construction, who's over the engineering, who's in these big positions of power, it's not many people who look and represent who you are. And so the woman is someone who they can turn towards and put all of that aggression. I'm not coming for you. I'm just saying historically, based upon my studies. Before I did this, I did a whole year of something called the Lev Project, where I read stories. Booker T. Washington, 40 Years a Slave. I read all of these slave narratives to kind of get an idea of what was happening during that time, right? And talk about a lot. So when I see Bob's behavior and I see Sadella's behavior and I even see Norval's behavior, that's where I'm coming from. So with that said, I'm currently reading. All right, Claudette. Claudette says she's currently reading. Let us know what you think so far, Claudette. I am self-published at this time, because, hey, sometimes you want to wait around for somebody to say, yeah, it's a good book for you to write. In this day and age, we can work on it, edit it, work on it, bring it out, and you can always do more edits. What you are describing is Sadella is the common Caribbean experience. Yeah, from the 60s to the 80s, there are so many of us barrel children. There's common family trauma, right? Because there's the children that were left behind, and then there are the children on the other side, right? And so there's a lot pun intended, to unpack here, because we're barrel children. There's a lot to unpack for those who, and there are also those who the parents took because they were smaller, and then say, like my family, one side of family had 9 children, right? My grandmother leaves and she takes some, whether it be the girl, whether it be the youngest, whether it be whoever, and then you have to leave others. When you left the others, what was going on when mama left? What was going on when papa left? What was going on back here? Who did you leave them to? How were they treated? How did they feel? How did they move through the day? So that's the trauma on one side. And then the trauma of those who came is like, yo, you're in a whole new world. You're in a whole new world. Everything is strange. My father would tell me that they would call him, what they call him? Banana Man, or some crazy, because in that time, there was like stereotypes of people coming from the Caribbean. It wasn't like, oh, my brother, you have arrived. It wasn't like that. You were being ostracized, right? And then add on top of that, you and the early 70s, you're now a Rasta. So on top of being from the Caribbean, now you're a Rasta. It wasn't the best combination. It wasn't the best combination. Okay. Sadella found balance but encouraged confusion in her son's life, being friendly. Yeah, Natasha was not feeling Sadella being friendly with the side chicks. Why, why? I know this might be off topic, but your free writing course helped me a lot with my college English essays. True? And short story. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I'm coming. I see. Oh, drop the link again. Oh, hold on there. Hold on. Thanks, Monique. Let me drop the link. Yeah, writing. Let me tell you something. Writing, some people may be like, I don't like writing. Writing, especially with your pen and paper. See me have all of my pen them, yes, sir. Right, we shot me sit down, right? Writing, there's something about it that even if you want to purge, even if you're feeling some things and speaking it out works. But you see, when you write it out, it just liberate the soul. Something about it. Me no know. You know what I mean? Just imagine say you like Bob, just sit down, roll on your desk and write out your song. Write it out, man. It will really help. So let me go to see who wanted to speak, and then I'm gonna go ahead and wind down. Yeah, she was a single. Rita was a single married woman. Based on the account. I never did it. Oh, YouTube side. Oh, sorry. Ush. Right now I'm in the StreamYard. Which link? Which link? Which link? Which link? Okay. Hopefully you guys got the link. I'm on the StreamYard side, so I'm not seeing everything. I just want to get some of these things, and I'm gonna go to those who are waiting in the queue. Well, go on, sir. Okay, so Della never abandoned her son. She had to make a move and get roots in America. That's what I'm saying. It's difficult. It really depends on what side of the conversation you're looking at. To the child, it may look on. Oh, pin the comment. To the child, it may look like you're abandoning them, right? Even Bob, even though intellectually, because this is something we know intellectually. See, I pinned the comment in the on the YouTube side. There's something that we may know intellectually, and then emotionally, I don't care what you say, you ain't here. You feel me? Later on, when Toddy's doing the most, mom is not there to step in. Who is there to comfort him? So intellectually, she had to do what she had to do, but emotionally, yeah, she won there. She won there. Let me see what's going yes or no. All right, let me. Sorry if I can't get to all of the comments. I appreciate the love. I linked the thing on the top. Click the thumbs up. You done know. Show some love. Nero Garrick was a beautiful soul, loyal to the end. Neville had a different spirit. I like his smile. I like the way his energy. I don't pick up anything like all the way off. It's not skill coalish. So Neville does have a good energy from what I could see of him. Yeah, man, Black Angel, you got to hit the bed. Oh, no, it's 2 a.m. Good night, good night, good night. They call, yeah, coconut, all kind of derogatory terms in the Caribbean when you just came here. So it wasn't a bed of roses. So I'm going to bring us up here because people, and yeah, a bedtime for me too in a minute too. Alan is bitter. He needs to talk about how bad I have to look up this Alan and Judy Moore thing. Y'all got me going down the rabbit hole. One thing about the way I study, it's rabbit hole-ish. And I'll be like, I'll get sucked down in the rabbit hole. And then by the time I pop out, I'll be like, what was I doing? I did this same study for R. Kelly many years ago, reading his autobiography, looking at what was going on in his life, trouble. All of these master musicians, there's a lot of other stuff in the closet, pun intended, because he sung in the closet. So Bob is like the third or fourth time having this conversation, and I'm seeing some parallels. So not to hold everybody, we're going to shortly go to the comment section, and we have Monique and Tate once again, and then I'm going to wind down.
Hey, I just keep coming back. I thought that there weren't a lot of people talking, so I was just like, why don't I just come back and we have a conversation?
Okay.
Um yeah, so I was gonna tell you, I found it funny in the book how when I think I mentioned it in the comments how when he was sick, um well, I think it's after he collapsed from the cancer spreading all over his body. And then
Mm-hmm.
Rita had called him in New York, and then his other side lady, Pascaline, had answered the phone. I was like laughing at that part. Cause like, how do you? And I think at this time she had already met, was familiar with like Cindy and Rita.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like a lot of like I see a lot of conversation had about Cindy having guts, but we also I think he actually just made a lot of women in his life feel like I don't know. I just found that to be so weird.
What that the way he cycled them in at different times?
Yeah, yeah, and the way that he made them like so like close and personal into his personal life while still having a married wife. Like I see a lot of people say Cindy has a lot of guts, but it seems like it's a lot of the other side ladies were kind of like that as well. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think he emboldened them. So, I mean, a man. It's like in the case of, and I can only juxtapose it with Sadella. Sadella finds the note according to what we read, and she's like, "Yo, I'm gonna confront Cicelyne or Ceciline," and
Mm,
Mr. Taddy says, "No, you're not," and that's what causes the fight. So in his situation, you are not gonna confront the side chick. Relax,
mm,
right? In
mm.
Bob's situation, it appears that he's emboldened them.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
therefore, he gives them permission to behave the way that they behave. Otherwise, us they wouldn't. You understand me?
yeah.
I
Because
say, yeah,
even Rita in the book, she said at that point she was wondering what he was doing and what she was doing with her life as well.
right. She
Because it
often
would be,
wondered that. Yeah.
yeah, because it'd been like it wasn't over with Cindy, even though she kind of moved on. It was happening with another lady.
And but again, he did this to on to the very end. So that was definitely something to me. It appears that he struggled with. Sometimes
Mm,
you're looking for yourself. There's a famous quote that people keep going around with. He's saying, if his life is that for other people, then he doesn't want it. um the Bible tells you to love the neighbor as you do yourself, so you have to love yourself to a certain degree, right? And
mm,
to keep giving the most intimate part of yourself, even though men and women are different, to so many
mm.
different people. To a certain degree, I think he was looking for something that he
Yeah,
didn't
that's
possibly
true.
necessarily find. Anytime a man is doing that, just indiscriminately flinging theirself here, there, and everywhere, there's something else going on there.
That's true.
Yeah.
I
If
like
you
the
had a precious,
connection.
sorry, if you had precious heirloom seeds, right? Like in today in the seedless population where they're taking all this, and you have precious heirloom seeds, are you just gonna be like, oh, it's winter time, me just gonna dash me seed in the rain, in the gully, you're not gonna do
Mm,
that. You're like, hey, these are
no.
precious heirloom seeds. I'm not just gonna be
Yeah,
planting them
yeah.
everywhere. So the fact that he planted his seed every and anywhere showed that to a certain degree he had some internal struggle that he was experiencing, because he would have been more mindful. Like in case
Mm,
of Kimani Marley, he's like his father. They were living in a shack, 9 people in one shack,
mm.
and Bob went to the house in Trelawney, so you knew these people were poor, but you
Yeah,
didn't make provision for that young man. You understand me? I said that
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff.
That's very disturbing,
Yeah,
considering he came from poverty.
right.
You would think that he wouldn't want any of his kids to experience living in poverty, especially when he's touring the world and making so much money.
Like I said, I think, and then I'm gonna go to Monique. I think there was a lot going on at one time, and if we don't take the time to, even in our own lives, if we don't take the time to process and unpack, we're kind of on autopilot. We're not consciously doing these things. It's whatever is in us that we are just going through the motions and reacting as those who came before us react. To really sit down
Mm,
and process the effects, I don't think he had that kind of time. I don't
that's
think he had
true.
that kind of time. And plus,
Like one,
smoking that
yeah,
much.
that's true. And then he
Yeah,
was actually really young as well.
he
I don't
was
want to
young.
give him like the benefit of the doubt, but I think that um Yeah, he was really young as
Yeah, he
well.
was young. Lady Simpson,
Mm.
good night. Everybody, I said good night. I'm going to say good night in a minute too. Thank you so much for tuning in and letting your
Okay.
thoughts be heard. I'm going to wind down in a second. I'm going to hear what Monique has to say, and then I'm going to wind down. Thank you so much.
Hey, Amuna, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Um, so I feel like this topic probably needs its own show because I saw you posted on the community page that link about, the bleaching
Oh,
thing in
yeah.
Jamaica. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think colorism in the Caribbean should be maybe a topic you talk about sometime.
I agree.
Um,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of bring that back to the colorism issue that Rita experiences, and also kind of like parallel that with Bob as well,
Mm-hmm.
um, because they both have like, or they're both experiencing that, but in a different way. And I find it interesting. Um, I guess kind of like the parallel with that, with Rita saying that her mom, or she's assuming that her mom abandoned her
Because she was
because of
darker.
her skin tone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then later on in the book, where she addresses like how she feels uncomfortable going to Hope Road because of all the uptown people that are there. And she just feels like out of place.
Right.
And she even like acknowledges that she allowed her skin color to, devalue, like make herself feel less than
Right.
other people. So I wanted to know your thoughts on that.
I think it is. I wanted to actually title it, but I said, nah, I'm just gonna put the thinky face. The vestiges of slavery, right? It's part of the inheritance. It's part of what was passed down. It's a system that we inherited um as it relates to how not only people see us, but like you're saying, as how we see ourselves, especially in British West Indies, right? One thing I found though is that even within my own family, I noticed a trend back in before Rita's time, the 1920s, and then later on, is that sometimes to balance this out, you would see a lighter skinned person getting with a very dark skinned person to kind of balance, because even though the dark skinned person is going through their own issues, so is the lighter skinned person. Like in the case of Bob, right? You're not black enough. So I do think it deserves another conversation, but I also noticed a trend that you would have these two sides of the spectrum coming together to kind of balance it out, and then their children will be all of these different hues of brown. I don't know if anybody else have saw that, but I've seen like sometimes they will look for the darkest person that they can find, especially if they've been teased or thought less than because they were more closer to the oppressor. So I think the advantage comes from where you grew up and how the people around you related to you, that really determined whether or not you thought it was a plus or a negative. So again, I've seen it in my own family, and it's definitely something that is plaguing not only the Caribbean. Right now it's heavy in Africa, it's heavy in India, it's heavy in Asia, where skin color determines the privileges that you have access to in society. So it's sad, but it's true. No.
Yeah, I agree. And I also, you just made me think too, like, do you think that because she mentions that, she's used to being teased for her skin color, and she mentions how I think you said that she was attracted to tall, dark, and handsome,
That's what
like
she
that was
said.
her
Yeah,
type.
that's what she said. Yeah.
But with the whole colorism thing, like, how do you think she saw Bob? Because if she's being made fun of for being dark skinned, like, do you think that maybe she was putting him on a pedestal because of his skin color? Because he's
Well,
lighter skin? I don't know.
the way she said it, she said that she wouldn't normally be attracted to a brown. I think, like I said before, I think her and Bob is more of an emotional magnetic pull to one another, right? I don't, because if she was going after him for his skin tone, then I don't know, she probably would have put that to the forefront, but she didn't. So I think she kind of settled with, okay, this is sufficient. In Rita's case, I think the people around her teased her, but because if you look at the beginning of her book, her father doted on her. I don't think, like, at the core, she necessarily had an issue with her skin tone. It was when she got experience with the other people around, because her father, he would call her little pet names according to her. He made her a stool. She would sit there while she's working, so that she didn't have that. The father kind of reflects to the young girl, the daughter, her self-worth in the way in which he interacts with her. So because she had that solid foundation, I think it was more like the out of the community. And if her father was tall and dark, it makes sense why she would be inclined towards someone who kind of is reminiscent of him. So in her case, I think the color came socially, her external social community, as opposed to like inside the house. I could be wrong, but based on what she said. Based on what she said.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. I guess I thought there was more to it because of how, like, she expresses her discomfort being around certain people that were lighter skinned. Maybe she thought that was gonna like re-traumatize her, or like you said, maybe she doesn't personally feel that way about herself, but she's afraid that people will point that out, or make fun of her for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility. I mean, even later on, even in recent times when I went to college, and you meet people from, uptown, and you meet there's a certain aesthetic of people who would be in that area and what those people would look like. I mean, primarily. And so she's coming from a very different place, where even just culturally or socially, she may not feel like, beyond skin color, that you can connect with what their experiences are. But she does mention going to 12 tribe, which in Jamaica there was a mixture of these European or uptown Kingstonians who were now becoming Rasta. So I think there was a lot of more than just color. There might have been something else at play that made her feel uncomfortable about going in and around, uh, this that particular community. Because it, Bob, according to the story, he was also teased. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you getting it on both sides, and I think to a certain degree they can identify with kind of being like this outcast. But yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about, but hopefully we can talk
Yeah,
more about that in
yeah,
another
next
show.
yeah, live next Wednesday. It look like Wednesday is the impromptu live day, so me just have to roll with it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much. Roots to roots. You said color in Jamaica records is likely mulatto or sambo. Thank you so much, Tate, as well. And like you said, that sambo came up in those 1850 records. And like I said, I had to go do some research, but not white. The Broomfields are white. No, I looked up some Broomfields is a Jewish derivative of that name Broomfield. Like some of them may be white, that's what I'm saying, but they may be, you have English white, you have Jewish white, you have Scottish white. So it really depends on where their mother country is. But thank you for sharing that. So with that said, everybody, we at the 2 hour mark. Broomfields are Scottish Jewish pirates, they say. Well, that would be the mother. That would be the grandmother. That's what I'm saying. It takes more to look into that. That would be the grandmother of. All right. All right. With that said, let me just scroll down, yes, sir. Good morning. Which button are there? I'm gonna. One more thing. It says Bob wanted Rita to live at Hope Road. Hope Road was like a HQ, people. Like growing up in New York, 12 Tribe Rastas had a HQ. And HQ is who wants to live at HQ? The HQ is not a place for a woman with her family to live. It's not a place to live. Hold on, let me clear my throat. Yeah, so HQ is not a place to live. So I don't object that she would want to live at HQ. But with that said, I want to thank everybody. I heard from my ex whaler and Pete that Bob and Bonnie would refer to Rita as the black girl. It's a possibility. White later UK, no better go to bed. No, me make it stay up late. Again, it's a possibility. People may pass disparaging remarks all the time because remember, the closer you are, and I'll leave on this. Y'all gonna make me have to go into my Lev Project slavery bag here. The closer you are to, and this is an interesting book, Jamaica in Slavery and Freedom, right? That's an interesting book. But the closer you are to your blackness, your authenticity, is the less tamed you are. The European had a talk that the closer you were to the European, it was the more refined you are, right? Because the black man was savage, quote unquote. And so the closer you are, the more mixed out your blood was, is the more refined you were. And this also bled down into the thought processes of the enslaved, that the yellow girl, as they would call them here in America, or the maroon, the octoroon or the quadroon, depending on how many grandparents you had that were white, was the more genteel you were. We see it with the Creoles in French Louisiana, or that came over from Haiti and ended up in French Louisiana. So this thought process is something that by which somebody would make the black girl comment, because it's all about proximity to resources. That's really what it's about. Refinement is really who is holding the bag and what is the proximity of this person to the person who's holding the bag. And if black was something that represented wellness and having access to resources, then people would want to be black. But because white represents wellness, access to resources, people want to go in what is proximity to white. So even though Bob is singing about Africa and he's singing about Rasta and he's singing about all these things, when he goes out into the world, he sees who has the bag and which proximity towards the bag is going to get him closer. So now he's going from a black girl who was about survival and helped him to survive to an Esther Anderson who was in proximity to Island Records, and then to a Sidney Breakspeare who's in proximity to whiteness, and then on to Sandra Kong who's in proximity to whiteness. And so you see him progressively getting towards people who are in a proximity to either whiteness or power, and later on the daughter of the guy from Gabon or somewhere. This is proximity to power. So it looks like in either direction, proximity to whiteness or proximity to power, he gravitates towards. And anytime, even in the time of Solomon, anytime you want to make a treaty with another people, what do? You take their daughters to be your wife. Loosely, I use the term loosely. So him taking these women is like him getting into treaty with these men. Ta-da! So with that said, that's another conversation for another day. Yes, it's proximity to power, proximity to whiteness. And so I think the slavery, someone else said that the slavery conversation is a backdrop. And that's why many years ago, I went deep into the slavery conversation, because without understanding this context, everything else just kind of seems like, but why? Right? But when we understand the laws that were put in place and the practices of the people and the things that people did to cope and get along and to move forward in society, then we can understand the lens by which Stella didn't realize that her being with a white man would have upset so many people. Because to a certain degree, that is also proximity to whiteness. And even though he wasn't rich, he belonged to the people group that had more resources to a certain degree. Enter Norval, right? But anywho, with that said, with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and wind down. I want to thank everybody for rocking with us for 2 hours and 10 minutes. Big up on yourself. Wanna have a blessed night. The free courses in the box below. Start your writing, start your journey, start asking questions. Sometimes though, depending on the people group you have, sometimes they don't want to open up. So if you do have somebody who wants to share the story, definitely take time to listen. And that will possibly bring you closer to your grandparents, your mother, your father, your uncles, because they're sharing a part of them that they needed to get off their chest, right? So with that said, everybody have a blessed night. Oh, don't know, so I'm not gonna get a shot reading tomorrow, We're not gonna get nobody complain and say, "Oh, no, the reading so short." The reading not gonna shot tomorrow. Our medium. We're not gonna make it so bad. All right. Everybody have a blessed night. Island Twist follows Jackie Brown, a young girl who finds herself head over heels for the new island boy at school in fresh outer yard, and Jackie has the fever. But as she navigates the ups and downs of her new crush, things quickly spiral out of control when her not-so-secret admirer becomes determined to sabotage her relationship. So check out the new novel, Island Twist, over on Amazon today. Now back to the story.